Thank you for joining us for our new ESG webinar series. Today's topic will focus on how brands can maximize the impact of sustainability communications. So now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome today's first speaker, Mike College, President of Ipsos Canada's Public Affairs Practice. Mike, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ellen, and hello, Ted. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I want to introduce Ted to everybody. Ted Doring is a Senior Vice President in our Creative Excellence Group, and Ted's going to take us today. Thank you for joining us on the webinar and talk to us about sustainability in advertising. As you can see, before he does that, Ted, I'm going to steal just a couple of minutes of your agenda, just to talk about the fact that this is the second in a series of webinars that we're doing on ESG. The first one was a couple of weeks ago, where Sean Simpson and Megan Miller, a couple of our colleagues, talked about how companies can use their ESG actions to their advantage to improve and leverage up their corporate reputation. Ted's going to talk to us, as I said, about sustainability in advertising and offer up some best practices and tips on how to achieve more out of that. And then later in August, I think it's the 17th, Robin Seed is going to talk to us. He's going to run a webinar on some of the learnings that have come out of our new Ipsos newcomers panel that looks at newcomers to Canada, which obviously with immigration on the rise has become a big issue for both public and private sector clients, and an even bigger opportunity for everybody. So that'll be a very timely discussion. But back to Ted's talk. Ted's talk. Do you like that, Ted? Ted's talk about sustainability in advertising. As I said, he'll provide you with some great insights. Before he does that, I just want to highlight a few things to prime the pump for him. We recently did a study of 30 Canadian companies looking at sort of their the public's overall view of them on ESG. And what we found, interestingly, is a lot of white space. So by that I mean 6 in 10 Canadians across all of the companies said, a specific company said, I don't know, or I hold a pretty neutral view of their contributions to the environment. So while there's a lot of effort out there, there's a lot of advertising, a lot of work, there's still a lot of space for companies to go out and define themselves and to make their mark and move things forward. And in addition, among those who said that they did have a view, the variations on who's positive and who's negative across the 30 companies was also pretty wide. It ranged from around mid-30s to the mid-teens. So, it's not as simple as just go out and talk about sustainability and everybody will recognize what you're doing for it. And there's a lot of opportunities to really make a difference and build on those credentials. So how to do it effectively is where Ted begins and where I take a back seat. So over to you, Ted. Looking forward to the webinar.
All right, thanks so much for the intro, Ellen and Mike. And yeah, we're really happy that you could join us today. As we mentioned, it's great to be here to discuss sustainability in advertising with you today. And specifically, we want to explore the topic, are sustainability in advertising, are they friends or are they foes? So we are going to focus mostly on sustainability or environmental ads today in this session, but we do have learnings on other components of the ESG spectrum as well. And I'm going to turn off my camera just because I am going to show ads, and there will be a picture of me in a couple slides, so you can see me again there. But I just want to conserve bandwidth and make sure we can watch the ads, hear the ads, so I will go off camera, but you will still be able to hear me. All right, so let's jump right in. Okay, so that's me. So I did say there'd be another picture of me. So I am Senior Vice President at Ipsos Canada. I lead our creative excellence practice. I've been at Ipsos for 15 years now, which seems like a long time, but I have been working in market research for 25 years, which seems like a longer time. So most of that time has been spent evaluating creative campaigns. So definitely excited again to be with you today to talk through this topic overall. So first off, we have a standard market research chart overall, but it does contain some interesting information. It tells us that climate change is still an important topic on the minds of consumers around the world. So you can see it right here, right under healthcare above taxes, in terms of it is something that remains a hot topic for consumers. And it is a topic that has actually increased in concern over the past few years as well. So Canadians, because we are in Canada, so you can see right there highlighted in red, Canadians are also concerned about climate change, and we actually over-index over the global average of 18%. So we're at about a quarter of Canadians are concerned by climate change. We're one of the highest countries in terms of that overall. And with this, consumers are starting to expect businesses to do something about climate change. So 68% of those around the world feel that if businesses in their country do not act now to combat climate change, they will be failing their employees and customers. And this is something that was born out of COVID as well, where we did see that the pandemic and advertising and communications from brands around the pandemic, it actually increased consumers' expectations of what they expected brands to do, because at the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of brands came out with advertising that said, we're here for you, we support you, but consumers wanted more and they expected more from brands that were advertising during that time, and they expected to see what are you doing about it. And that's what we're seeing now as well in terms of climate change and sustainability. It's great that brands can support this, but they want to really see how are you supporting it, and they feel that that expectation is there that you will support it overall. So we're going to focus on sustainability, as I mentioned, and some advertisers think about sustainability as a path to premiumization, But in most cases, what we are seeing is that making existing brands more sustainable isn't going to be a way to add short-term profit. So what we did, and to illustrate this, is that we designed a shelf test in the US. Our colleagues at Ipsos US did this using our SimStore platform. So what we asked consumers was to shop for dishwasher liquid soaps with all the usual brands plus our own made-up brand Sustain. So some saw the Sustain brand with a sustainability claim on the pack, which was said made from recycled ocean plastic, and some did not see this overall. So we tested both at price parity, $4.25, and the one with the claim at a price premium. So there was one with no claim and one with a sustainable claim. They were both $4.25 overall. At price parity, the pack with the claim was more likely to be purchased, all things being equal. So the more sustainable choice won out there. So clearly some people noticed the claim and they felt more motivated to choose that product as a result. Subsequent diagnostics that we collected also showed greater appeal and stronger environmental credentials for the pack that had the sustainable claim on it overall. However, when we introduced higher prices with the sustainable claim, people were not more likely to choose the sustainable option. So the price premium had wiped out the additional positive disposition to buy. While this is really only one example, we believe it reflects a much broader reality of the consumer overall. So really, it's about future-proofing ourselves against longer-term risk by taking a bigger picture view. In other words, sustainability is a very complex topic, and we need to really be thinking long-term in terms of our brands. Because this is obvious, but there is really no business on a dead planet. There's no planet B, as we can see from this illustration here. So it is really absolutely vital that companies sort of pick up the pace and showcase doing the right thing for the right reasons overall. So beyond climate change and environmental challenges, the social dimension of sustainability has also taken center stage over the past few years, with one wave following another. So the Me Too movement, the fight for gender equality, Black Lives Matter, and the fight for inclusion and diversity are just some of the examples that we've seen come to the forefront rightfully over the past few years. So everywhere we look, it's really hard to avoid these questions about building a sustainable future. So to answer the question posed on the first slide, we do feel that can advertising and sustainability be friends rather than foes? So we want to answer that question today overall. So brands occupy a singular space when we think of sustainability. They have an important place in our lives. They provide us with the products and services we need. Some of them are active leaders of sustainability transformation, but a majority have really been part of the problem of, say, overconsumption, of pollution, and they really share a commonality. They communicate with people through advertising, and thus we see more and more ads, including some level of sustainability messages within them. So at first, there can be a bit of a cognitive dissonance when associating advertising and sustainability. So don't they have irreconcilable objectives? Advertising's purpose, as we know, is to sell more, while sustainability aims at meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So how can both work together? Can advertising and sustainability ever become friends to support a more sustainable future and responsible brand growth? So at Ipsos, we pre-test thousands of ads every year. We've reviewed the data to help answer these questions. And as I mentioned before, as you saw the chart, we do see some brands being called out for so-called greenwashing, but this is not the majority of cases. We saw previously that 68% of people believe businesses that do not act now to combat climate change will be failing their employees and customers. People expect advertisers to act for sustainability. The challenge for brands then resides in balancing the communication for a more sustainable future with the potential to grow sales and market share for the brand. So what we're going to look at in the balance of this webinar is what we can learn from our experience evaluating ads with a sustainability message. What works, what doesn't work, what are some key trends and tips we can find to help brands build better sustainability advertising. So because we pre-test a lot of ads, what we did is we identified 200 ads across 15 different countries in our global database that included some sustainability messaging across a wide distribution of countries, categories, type, and importance of sustainability claims. So what we do, today we're going to focus on the more environmental claims overall. These ads were evaluated using our Creative Spark assessment tool, where we measure a combination of thoughts, feelings, and emotions with sales and market share validation metrics to measure effects and identify areas to optimize if we need to. So in our analysis, we identified 5 key learnings that we really believe can help brands successfully change people's behavior and create a more sustainable future, while also helping to grow sales and market share. So let's now talk about those 5 key learnings that we can consider, or you can consider, when you're developing sustainability advertising. So the first key principle, or the key learning, was just talking about sustainability is not enough to grow your brand overall. So talking about sustainability, sorry, let me go here. So talking about sustainability doesn't guarantee great advertising, and our analysis, it doesn't deliver more strongly for the brand either. So we have something called the Creative Effect Index. It is our key measure from our Creative Spark solution that we use to pre-test the 200 ads. So sustainability is validated to sales lift with market mix modeling. And what we see here is that we've classified all ads on the right and sustainability ads on the left. What we see is that sustainability advertising doesn't generate more desire for your brand versus any other advertising. So that goes back to the first principle, where we're saying just having a sustainability message doesn't guarantee great advertising overall. And we also see, looking at brand attention, which is a combination of the ability of the ad to get noticed and the ability of consumers to remember the brand, we also see that sustainability ads actually under-index all ads on brand attention overall. So again, once again, sustainability, just having a sustainability message doesn't necessarily guarantee your ad will get noticed or your brand will stand out more versus all others we've tested in our database. And really what we see, and we coined this term, the sea of sameness, during COVID overall, where we saw a lot of the ads that brands were coming out with, and again, not their fault, just because of the constraints of the situation and in being able to film and what have you. The sea of sameness, where all the ads sort of looked the same, they felt the same, they had similar messaging. And we're seeing the same thing with sustainability ads, that there is a sea of sameness. Sustainability messages themselves, they tend to be a little generic and difficult to own for a brand. We all have in our mind, when we think about environmental ads or sustainability ads, these images of farmlands and windmills overall, and multiplication of these types of messages and these type of imagery means that it's really harder for ads and brands to catch attention. So as I mentioned, we've seen this before with COVID, multiple ads considering the same message. We've also seen it across other categories, any category really, like automotive, financial, you name it. You can have a sea of sameness when we're conforming to category conventions and what people expect with the category. So I want to show you an ad now that helps to illustrate this point. So I'm going to just toggle and show the ad to you. So just give me one moment.
This is about tomorrow, for a thriving, living world.
It's up to us to act today.
We have to question everything.
How we see ourselves.
The world around us.
Everything we do.
How we act is a reflection of who we are.
Every step leaves a footprint on tomorrow.
We need to move forward with a sense of purpose.
Without empathy, collaboration,
concrete actions.
Without humanity, progress is empty.
For tomorrow is real people connecting.
Empowering each other to make real change in the world.
We are not going to take anything for granted.
Or to wait and see what's around the corner. We're going to act.
For tomorrow.
For tomorrow.
For tomorrow.
We'll do it because we owe it to the ones who come next.
Because we can make the world a better place.
Because we can work together.
Because of me.
Because of you.
Because of us. If we look ahead with humanity.
We can act for tomorrow. Today.
So that ad in particular, the topics in the ad are obviously clearly on point when it comes to sustainability. However, they're also very generic. There's really not a clear link with the brand. So this results, when we tested this ad, in weak brand attention. It just didn't really stand out. Again, consumers liked the messaging, but they couldn't really connect the brand, and they felt it seemed like other ads they'd seen in this regard overall. So once we've seen this example now, so let's look at how we might generate stronger brand attention by delivering a sustainability message. So the second principle we want to talk about is striking the right balance between sustainability and brand messaging overall. So in reviewing the ads that we tested, we see that the sustainability angle varies. Some ads focus solely on the sustainability claim, such as the one we just watched, while others blend brand messages with sustainability. And what we do see from the data that we collected is that ads that blend brand and sustainability messages perform much better on our creative effect index, with an average increase of 54% on the creative effect index. So this really shows the importance of not forgetting to include brand benefit messages in your ads that are focused on sustainability. And really, when we dive into the details, we see this difference in looking at drivers of effectiveness as well. So again, the ads that focus only on sustainability are less likely to convey new news, and they lag also on entertainment values. So you can see that here, if we are combining sustainability and brand messaging, we're also more likely to deliver something new to the consumer, because they likely didn't know this information about the brand before, and they're getting this information because we've attached the brand to the sustainability message. So why don't we take a look at another ad example that helps to illustrate this point.
Hey, I'm Björn, and I'm here at Volvo to find out what is the ultimate safety test. These are the side and frontal crash tests. They're brutal. Yep, seems fine. This one is my favorite. The run-off road test. Impressive, right? But is it the ultimate safety test? This is the big one, the 100-foot drop. So is this the ultimate safety test? Well, it depends. Whether you...
So that was an example of a sustainability ad that succeeds. So it leverages Volvo's brand DNA. So Volvo's brand mission consistently is about keeping people safe overall, but it also introduces the sustainability message in a playful twist at the end. It also includes a very clear call to action for the brand. All their cars will be electric starting now. So we're not just saying we support climate change, they're actually showing how they're doing it. So this ad is an excellent example of striking the right balance between brand messaging and sustainability messaging. So again, introducing the protection of the planet to increase people's safety in a surprising way. This does a great job at integrating Volvo's traditional brand messaging of safety with sustainability overall. And as a result of this winning strategy, the ad generated a very strong creative effectiveness index, which is, it stood out. It got credit for the brand. It also drove brand consideration and brand impact. So that's a really great example of an ad that balances both brand and sustainability messaging. So the third principle is not to push people into sustainability behavior, but rather pull people into sustainability behavior. So let's take a look at that. So what we do see, another trend we observe from our testing on sustainability ads is around the way the message is crafted. So some ads, again, try to push people into behavior such as, start recycling or saying something like do this and do that, while others offer a solution to people to pull them into it overall. So we see the ads that focus on people, that talk about their problems and offer them a solution. This is more effective than just talking about the brand or asking people to actually do something overall. So this brings back something we know from previous analysis that we've done, as well as a book that we published called Misfits overall, is that empathy, and it's around empathy, and empathy being one of the 3 pillars of creativity alongside generating a positive creative experience and generating good creative ideas. Empathy is also a key driver of advertising effectiveness, and this really holds true with sustainability advertising as well. People like to be heard, they like to be offered easy solutions, and ads that convey this demonstrate empathy or their understanding of the consumer, the end audience. So why don't we take a look at another ad example, an ad that focuses on a people problem and brings a tangible solution overall. So we'll take a look at this ad.
Tired of running out of sparkling water? Then get this counterbalance forklift. It can carry truckloads so you never run out. There must be a fresher way. Oh, get the gift of fresh sparkling water at home whenever you want. Shop SodaStream now.
So this ad example, here again, the brand is really giving a clear solution to people overall. It brings them in, it doesn't push them into sustainable behavior without playing a key role. Here, the brand, which is SodaStream, it's easy to spot, as well as its role is also quite obvious. And this really translates into a balanced ad between the sustainability topic, again, in the brand messaging, with the first part of the ad really showing the overconsumption of plastic bottles, and the second part leveraging different distinctive brand assets like the sound of the SodaStream machine and the bottle filling up with the gas overall. It also offers people a simple solution to get carbonated water. So it did perform well in Creative Spark, as you can see, had an entertaining theme, was informative, had a credible message, driving a really strong creative effect index overall. So this was a great example of sort of pulling people into behavior rather than pushing them into behavior. So the next principle we're going to talk about is called facing the issues. And what we saw again in our database analysis is that we did see a smaller number of ads that chose to start with the problem head on, usually it's as an introduction to the sustainability topic that they're going to cover. And it varies from maybe showing images of the impact of climate change to a struggling local business or minorities facing discrimination. Well, the problem solution setup is pretty traditional in advertising. The problems with sustainability are pretty serious, and they might be perceived as potentially a little generic. But does this kind of setup work well when talking about sustainability and serious issues? We say our data says yes, it is, as you can see here on the chart, where there's a stronger performance of ads that start with the problem versus ones that do not start with the problem at all. So let's take a look at another ad example, an ad that really faces the sustainability issue head on.
If there were 77 Earths, nature would be endless. Shorelines and deep blues would go on forever. No shortage of surf breaks or hidden beaches. If there were 77 Earths, we could let plastic suffocate whole oceans. We could waste an Earth, or 2, or 10. We could go on living exactly as we do now. But there aren't 77. That's why we have a net zero plastic footprint. Join us and protect our oceans.
So another example there, and this ad for Corona, it really blends a unique and beautiful visual experience with a stark problem, plastic in the oceans, as well as showing that Corona is part of the solution by having a net zero plastic footprint. So again, this performed well in our Creative Spark evaluation, as we can see here, with a strong overall creative effect. It's driven by perceptions of uniqueness, relevance, and it's supported by new news overall. So that one really, again, it started with the problem that if we had 77 Earths, then we'd be okay, but we only have one, and that's why this is an issue. And more importantly, here's what Corona is doing to combat this overall. So we have one more final principle to cover, and that's really talking the talk and walking the walk overall. And what does that mean? And it really is talking about believability. And believability is one of the key drivers that sustainability ads under index on today. It could have more importance in driving good results, it likely should, but sustainability is sometimes harder to believe, especially if we aren't supporting it with, again, how your brand is helping the cause. And we're just sort of saying we support sustainability issues because, again, that is nice, but it doesn't necessarily give consumers the information they need overall. So we want to make sure that the claims in our ads and our campaigns are credible and that we're really following through on them overall. So not doing so exposes you to the risk of being accused of greenwashing and potentially, you know, in worst case scenarios, facing some sort of consumer or media backlash overall. So we're going to go back to the Corona example, and to illustrate the fact of credibility here is that Corona is clearly stating what they're doing. So they're the first brand to achieve zero plastic footprint. They include key figures when it comes to actions and environmental involvement on their website. So they're very credible when they talk about sustainability in their ads, including the one we just watched overall. So they have facts that can prove it there. So that leads us to, we want to recap the key points and key principles that we covered during this webinar overall. And the first one being just talking about sustainability is not enough. Again, we need to make sure that we are get to the next principle, integrating sustainability and our key brand messages so that, again, we're helping to drive some credibility. And importantly, we're showing consumers how we are helping the cause overall. Again, we want to try to pull people into sustainability behavior, don't push them into it. And helping with that is potentially facing the issues or starting with the problem in order to ground the consumer to help them understand what the issue is, and then that can set up your brand to at least have a role in what is the solution, and potentially even involve the consumer in that solution as well. And then we want to, of course, talk the talk and walk the walk, and provide some facts and some information about what we're doing in order to drive that credibility, which we know sustainability ads under index on overall. So once we have identified where we want to play and how we want to win, we have to remember, as I've shown you today, 4 different examples, that other companies are also thinking in the same way and about the same themes that you are. So we have to work extra hard to deliver effectiveness by making magnificent sustainability advertising. So really it's about being true to the facts, being true to the people, your end audience, and being true to your brand is how you're going to do that overall. And that's how you're going to make magnificent sustainability advertising. So to conclude, I want to go back to the message we posed at the beginning of the session in the title slide, and that is, can advertising and sustainability be friends or foes? And we feel, based on looking at this data, based on the analysis we've done, that advertising and sustainability can and should be friends overall. People want brands to act for a better world and to communicate, and they want brands to communicate about it. But again, just adding sustainability to a claim to an ad will not be enough. You need to cut through the sea of sameness and offer new, entertaining, and relevant experience to the consumer in order to be effective. And a good way to do this is to strike the right balance really between your own brand benefits and the additional sustainability benefits, and put people at the center of your strategy, because that, at the end of the day, is who we're trying to influence with our communications. So we need to offer them sustainable answers to their problems and really showcase that we are part of the solution overall. And on our journey, again, we want to watch out for the pitfalls that can make us look like a foe, make sure we're facing the issues, and most importantly, be credible, believable, follow through on what you say, and don't ever oversell your claims. So in the end, the truth is probably that we're starting a challenging transition towards a sustainable future, where a lot remains to be done. And that transition will not happen without brands taking action and without great advertising to support these actions. So thank you once again for your time today. We really appreciate it. And as Mike said, this is part of our ESG webinar series. Our next session is scheduled for August 17th, where my colleague Robin Seed will be taking us through some interesting and illuminating learnings about new Canadians, which were captured in our online community of new Canadians. So we really hope to see you there. And again, thank you so much for your time today.
Wow, I just want to jump in and say a big heartfelt thanks to the great presentation, the illustration of the ads, and all the insight. We did get some questions, and but in the interest of time, I think that we're going to follow up by email. So once again, thank you, Ted. Thank you, Mike. And thank you all for joining us today. See you next time.